You might not have heard of Sue Gray or Lord McDonald, but they're both a dynamic duo who've shattered the myth of a politically neutral British civil service. They've done it more effectively than ramming a sledgehammer through a china shop. This myth is as genuine as Katie Price's ever-expanding knockers. So Lord McDonald, for those that don't know who are normal and have a life, he's the former bigwig at the Foreign Office. And he decided to spill the tea in a BBC documentary. He said the quiet part out loud.
I decided to tell my colleagues, and therefore let ministers know, that I had voted to remain in the European Union. I felt that they would assume that in any case, so I decided to embrace it.
Having covered politics for more than 20 years, though, it's extraordinary to hear you tell us that you told people how you voted. Because that principle of impartiality is what holds the civil service together.
You'd think after Brexit, right, he might have told the BBC, I wanted to rally the troops. The nation must come together at this moment. No. Maybe he would say something like, chin up, chaps. We've been around before the EU, we'll be around much longer after the EU. But no, he actually decided to come out as a Remainer, openly seeking to massage the narrative that the British people got it wrong and that they, as our unelected bureaucrats, they know best. Learned as they are, probably went to Oxford, unlike you plebs. And then Alicia Kearns was interviewed, a lone Brexiteer in the Foreign Office where she used to work. She must have felt lonelier than a Tory at a Greta Thunberg rally with Extinction Rebellion, because it's a real misfit in a den of Europhiles.
So I was by no means the only Brexiteer in the civil service, but I think I would definitely say that I was in a minority within the Foreign Office. I went to a meeting and at it, a civil servant said, we know the British people got it wrong. And for me, that undermined everything about public service and about democracy, about self-determination. It's not for one civil servant to say that the British people got it wrong because they disagree.
And I think what she says here is really quite revealing. Because you look at what Sue Gray, the so-called neutral investigator of Boris Johnson's Partygate, she's now playing second fiddle to Sir Keir Starmer as his chief of staff. She's about as impartial as a football referee who's also the dad of the star player, for God's sake. She said to the Labour Party reportedly, she walked in on her first day and said, you had my back, I'll have yours. I think we all know what that means. And don't get us started on talking about the PCS Civil Service Trade Union. They're actually taking you, as taxpayers, to court over the government's Rwanda plan, which is actually a plan supported by the public that would act as the deterrent for saying to illegal migrants, if you come here, we'll deport you straight away to Rwanda. They're challenging that because they're arguing that their members, the civil service, wouldn't support the plan. Well, I'm sorry, but we actually are the ones in control here. As Britain is a democracy, last time I checked, we're not ran by technocrats in Whitehall. And speaking of Whitehall, it's more like Wokehall, right? You'd find more impartiality from a vegan judging a sodden barbecue contest, because they've gone from serving the public to serving their own ideological mush, right? Complete with BLM ice cubes and pronoun-laden straws, and you're told to lap it up because this is the way it's always been. I'm sorry, the civil service never used to be like this. The Reform Party, though, led by Richard Tice, I think they're onto something. Not only have they called for a separate Department of Immigration, they've actually called for it to be staffed by people that actually believe in, immigration control, revolutionary as it might sound. And I think, actually, this is what we need to do. Let's take a leaf out of Uncle Sam's American playbook. New administration, well, you need a new team. No more lifetime gigs for civil servants who couldn't deliver a right-leaning policy if it came with a sudden Amazon Prime subscription. What we need is people that actually care about the policies that they're being tasked with. Donald Trump did this in his Treasury, for example, where he delivered radical tax reforms that benefited primarily the working class and businesses, has to be said, but taxes on business are taxes on you as consumers and on workers. And this is all really important because we cannot continue like this. We've got to face the facts. The idea of an impartial civil service is as real as the Loch Ness Monster. Surely anyone reasonable, rational can see that now. It's time we stopped believing in fairy tales of impartiality and started to get Britain back on track. How about it, eh?